Hello, everyone. I'm North Hempstead Town Supervisor Judy Bosworth. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have embarked on creating a virtual exercise series for our senior residents. We partnered with our Project Independence fitness instructors to host these virtual classes, which will allow you to stay fit and healthy by participating from the safety of your home. Please enjoy.
Trying to get up and move is very important, as it's considered to be one of the biggest health hazards is just not doing anything. So moving is very important, and we'll do more moving in my previous lesson. So we'd always want to get back to the basics of yoga. Starting at the beginning, yoga was a meditation. So we're starting with what we call breath awareness, which means we just observe our breath, being a witness to what happens with the breathing. We want to observe, where is the breath flowing? Where, particularly in your torso. Watching the movements of your body, your torso, will tell you where your breath is moving. And more important to it, as to where it's not flowing. We want to use the full capacity of our lungs. When I was taught, it's called abdominal thoracic breathing. The exhale, think of it starting in your belly as the belly draws in and up, forcing out the last bout of oxygen as much as you can. And inhaling slowly, filling your lungs. It was also called three-part breath, which is something we can work on a little bit. As I exhale, my belly draws in. The inhale, my belly expands. Then the ribs expand. And then eventually into the chest. You may even feel a little movement in your shoulders. I know this sounds like too basic, too simplified. It's like you want to get up and you want to start exercising. But this is very important too, because particularly if you have difficulty sleeping, this is an excellent exercise to do. It's those deep, full exhalations that sends a signal to our nervous system to quiet, to relax. They call it rest and digest, as opposed to the opposite, which is the fight or flight, which is very into our basic primitive fears of being attacked, where we have to either get away or fight to survive. So we're going to add a little bit of movement into this. I'm going to take my arms down at the side. The thing with the fight or flight nervous system, it was only meant to be used for a few seconds, maybe a minute or two, where you would either get away or be finished. So with the exhale, I'm emptying my lungs. On my inhale, taking my arms around and up. And I exhale, I lower my arms around and down. And we're going to do that a couple of times as I'm going to build into what I call the the chair sun salutation, a salute to the sun. So as I take my arms around, I'm imagining I'm making an image of the sun, the round circle of the sun. But then I'll add on to this. I'm inhaling, I'm taking my arms up, and then I exhale. I'm going to reach out. My hips are pressing back into the chair. I reach out and down, bringing my hands down, my chest, everything comes down onto my legs. And I'm going to come back the opposite way. I'll take my arms up, all the way up, and then exhale back down. So we're going to go through that again as we're going to, little by little, add one little piece at a time. And then we'll get up later and we're going to add more movements on it, because as you see, I'm not using my legs a whole lot. Believe it or not, I am using my legs as I press down into my legs to take the arms up. Exhale, I fold forward. And inhale, I'm coming back up and lowering the arms down, adding in one more movement, a very small movement. So inhale, exhale. The small movement is I'm just lifting my shoulders up from my upper back. I'm not leaning my head back. And then I fold all the way back down. Inhale, I take the arms up. And exhale, the arms back down. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Now, you can do that a bunch of times. You'll start to feel like all you're focusing on is inhale, exhale. The mind becomes very relaxed. But we'll do a little bit more. So I'll do a little bit on my hips. I'm going to slide my hips forward towards the edge of the chair. And I'm just going to lean back and take my right leg into the chest, and you can straighten your left leg out. I'm just stretching my lower back. And I'm going to circle my leg around just a little bit. Get some movement into my hips, so when we stand up, they'll be more ready for the more difficult postures. So every posture is preparing us for what's to come. And release. Just getting my hips to move. I'm going to the left leg. The sun salutations, they start off easy. They can become very hard, requiring a lot of strength and mobility. Say, circling this leg around. You only do is whatever you can, and being happy for what you can do. Don't be upset over when you see people that can do acrobatic stuff and you can't. Unless you were an acrobat at a younger age, may not happen. So I'm coming to, but we're still moving. Everybody's doing the same thing to their own level. I'm coming back to my breath as I prepare to stand up and going through some basic standing, what I call standing poses. I'm going to use my legs to stand up, not using my hands to push myself up. I'm using my body, a little bit of momentum, and I come to stand. Get into this, what I call the attention position, keeping my head back over the shoulders. My shoulders over the hips and my hips over the ankles. The legs are firm. That's because they're supporting me. We're going to go back into the half sun salutation. It's a little bit different now. So I'm taking my arms around and up. And I exhale. I fold over. I bring my hands down onto my knees, shins, and maybe lowering down to the ankles, feet, or even hands onto the floor. I'm coming up halfway. I lengthen my spine, and then I exhale, I fold in deeper. Inhale, I take my arms up and around and down. Yeah, seems hard. The trick is to fold not from the ribs here, but in the right on the top of the hips, the hip creases. You could, even if you're having trouble, you can put your hand here and think of folding from here. So once you get that, it's much easier. So let's inhale and take the arms up. And exhale, as I fold over, I can almost touch the floor. Inhale, halfway, I lengthen my spine, and then I can reach down even further. And inhale, taking the arms up, and exhale. Moving on, we'll get deeper into that. The next step is to actually bring the hands onto ground. Think about that for just a second as we set up for our first standing poses. A wide leg standing pose. I just make my feet wider. How wide is up to you. If your feet are really far apart, you work harder. So if you're feeling this is too much, you just bring your feet a little bit closer together and you'll feel a lot different. Our next pose from here is this warrior two. So I'm going to turn to the right, but I'm going to turn my back foot slightly in. I rotate my front leg out 90 degrees. I take my arms up, shoulder height, side, right out to the side, and I just bend my front knee. I'm looking down at my knee. You may not see me looking down, but my knee is over the ankle. And we're going to breathe and take a few breaths. And on my next exhalation, I'm going to bring my right arm on top of the right leg. The left arm comes up and over. Side angle pose. It's lengthening everything on the top of my body, from the left foot reaching back through my hip, through my ribs, right through to my fingertips. On my next inhale, I'm going to come up to warrior two. And for now, I'm just going to come to center, back here. I'll add on a little bit more in the next couple, when we come to the triangle pose. It's all circling around the breath. The breath is like the net that connects everything we do. Warrior two, second side. I'm going to turn my right foot in slightly, turning my left leg out 90 degrees. Take the arms up. I bend my left knee so it's over the ankle. I'm looking down, but I really want my focus on my fingers. We want to focus our gaze at a specific point. As we focus on our breath, we are narrowing our awareness, the breath awareness, so that everything becomes down to one single object. That's part of the process of yoga. I'm going to take one more inhale, my exhale, side angle pose. Yeah, our society, we really force or push people to do many things at one time, this multitasking. And when we come to yoga, we want to take that down to one thing. Focusing our awareness calms the nervous system. It's all that busyness that goes on that creates the stress, the anxieties. We come down to just nothing but thinking of our breath, a total focus, I'm gonna inhale, coming back up, coming to center, hands to the hips. Doing a lot of stretching for the legs and hips today. I'm gonna fold forward. I'm gonna slide my hands down the outside of the leg, maybe reaching the foot. Maybe you can put your hands onto the floor under your shoulders. It doesn't matter how far you go. You wanna keep the neck long. My shoulders come away from the ears, so my head just hangs gently down and relaxes. Then I'm going to come back up. I'm going to use my legs. I come up halfway at first. And wherever the hands are, I bring my hands to the hips and I come all the way up. And exhale. So the sun salutations link the breath to the movement, so everything continually flows. We're taking pauses, taking some breaks. I'm going to go from triangle pose to the other without a pause in between. So I'll start, I'm going to turn to the right. I'm taking my arms out to the side. I'm inhaling, exhale, I reach out and down into the triangle pose. So it's okay if your balance is off to look down. If you want to challenge yourself more, you look up towards the top hand and maybe beyond. Coming out, I'm inhaling. I'm still inhaling. I'm switching my feet. I'm still inhaling, and exhale, second side. It's very challenging to spend your whole practice going from one pose to the other with no break in between. It seems easy until you try to do it. But it does create a situation where you're totally focused on the breath. Making it from one posture, position to the other without pause. Takes a lot of concentration. So I'm coming up. I parallel feet, with my hands to the hip. But we will take some breaks. Anytime you feel like it's too much, take a break. We're going to do another stretch for the legs and also a little bit for the shoulders. If your shoulders aren't ready for that yet, you can just keep your hands on your back. And I'm going to take my arms up and then I'm going to interlock my fingers behind the back. I lift my chest and then I fold forward. I bring my head towards the floor. I don't actually touch my head to the ground. My arms are coming up towards my shoulders. And I breathe. As long as you're breathing, that's all that really matters. Doesn't matter how far you come into all these poses. With practice, you can achieve almost anything. Using my legs, I'm going to come back up. Coming to stand. Okay. So we're going to changing around. I'm going to bring my feet together. We're going to come to something I always believe in practice, and that's balance. We technically balance every time we take a step. Now we're going to hold the balance on one leg while when we walk, we're constantly moving. So I'm just going to take my right leg up like I'm walking. I take the leg out to the side. My foot can be into the calf or the toes can be on the ground. Hands to prayer. Just breathe here. When we're moving, it's a lot easier to balance. As soon as you stop and try to hold that, much more difficult. The momentum makes all these postures a lot easier, particularly the this tree pose. I'm going to take my arms up, makes it a little bit more challenging. Come out, back to center. There are a lot of balances that you can do in yoga. This is the basic one, but you'll see it's challenging. I'm going to go to the other leg, tree pose, second side. Again, my foot comes to the ground, so it's like a kickstand, makes it a lot easier. You get more challenging, you bring your foot into the calf below the knee. And little by little, you can keep challenging your balance little by little. Makes us more stable. I'm going to take my arms up. I definitely recommend to keep challenging your balance. It's something that goes as we age, as we all are aging, hopefully. How we age is how we live our lives. Exercise, eating right, stress management, sleep, all these things are very important. With this movement we will sleep better. Okay, we're going to move on back onto the sun salutation. I'm going to use the chair to make the more difficult postures easier. Like I said, I had mentioned, that we have to bring our hands onto the ground. You notice I didn't say the floor. The chair is going to be my ground. So I'm standing close to the chair, and we're going to add a little bit more onto the sun salutation. We're going to add the plank pose and downward dog. Legs are firm. I inhale. I take my arms up. Exhale, I'm folding forward. I'm bringing my hands down onto the chair. As I fold in deep, I'm coming up halfway, and I'm going to step back with my right leg, left leg into plank. And then I exhale, I bring my hips back, so it's like a downward dog, an inverted V. With the chair, it's an L shape. This is the only pose that we hold in the sun salutation. You just keep adding a little bit more on, making it a little more challenging. As long as you can breathe comfortably, you're doing good. I'm going to come back. When I'm looking at my hands, I'm going to step my right foot forward, the left. I'm lengthening my spine, then I fold deeper. Maybe now I can put my head on the ground. Yeah. And inhale, I'm coming all the way up. And exhale, the arms down. I'm going to do one more, stepping with the other leg, just to stay balanced. Press down, I ground into the ground, I'm reaching my hands up like I'm trying to grow longer, taller. Exhale, head down. Inhale, halfway up, I'm going to step back again into plank. If you want more exercise, you want more strength for the shoulders, you're welcome to stay here a little bit longer. You're welcome to try to do push-ups, or you just go right back to down dog. And if that's too much, just come back forward like we did before. I'm pushing my hands forward like I'm trying to push the chair forward. Sliding my hips back. Again, I'm trying to lengthen my spine. Like I'm trying to grow taller. Now imagine that, yes, I can come out of my practice every day just a little bit taller than I went into it. That would be nice, right? I'm going to come back forward. Look forward. I step left foot forward, right, and I fold down. My inhale, taking my arms up, and exhale, arms down. Okay, I'm gonna turn just move my chair. I'm gonna stand with my hands on the back of the chair, and I'm going to come into it's like some lunges. I'm going to do it through a series of lunges. I'm going to step back with my left leg. I bend my right knee. And I'm here. My front leg is bent. It's doing the work. I'm stretching the back leg. And maybe I can take either one arm or maybe both arms up. We're using the back of the chair because we're going to go into other postures. One of my favorites. I'm going to lower it down and I'm going to go and I'm going to do the other side. Taking my right leg back, I bend my left knee. So like I said, you can take one arm up and stay here, or one arm and then two, or alternate. Little by little, you can get more into this trickier balanced poses. Down, stepping forward. So we're going to go back to the first side with just a little bit of a twist. I'm going to step back with the left leg, and I bend my front leg, and I'm going to take my arm up and around, turning my spine. Rotation, twist. And then I'm going to lower down and switch to the other side. Taking my left arm up. And lowering down. I'm going to come back up. Another similar pose. I'm going to step back again with my left leg, but I'm going to keep my legs straight. I'll push the chair away. I'm going to straighten out, reach out, my arms away. My hips are pressing back. I'm firm in my front leg, and I get a big stretch in the back of the leg. I'm staying up high. I like to keep my shoulders high, just to show everybody that in case of any, if you do have weaknesses in your spine, you're better off staying up here. Eventually you can go deeper and put your hands onto the seat of the chair. Eventually maybe bringing your hands to the ground. And I'm going to come up and I'm going to switch sides. Right now this is a nice stretch. We'll get more advanced poses. There's other things we can do from here to make this really quite hard. Right now, just stretching and yes, one of my favorite stretches, to lengthen the back of my legs. I'm going to come out, up to stand. My alignment. We're going to come to maybe one of the more important poses, but I'm going to move my chair back. And I'm going to demonstrate the chair pose. Coming in dynamic. It's like I want to sit down on the chair, but I don't really want to touch the chairs. One of my teachers says, yes, imagine like you're trying to sit on a public toilet, but you don't want to touch it. So I bring my hips back over the chair, not pushing my knees forward and straining the knees. I'm sending the hips back. I take my arms up to counterbalance, and then I come back up. And I'm going to do that repeatedly. Maybe each time, maybe I can lower down a little bit further. Almost, I'm touching the chair. It's like I want to be able, see, I can actually come further than what the chair is. The chair is actually, for me, is a little bit high. I can actually come lower than what the chair is. But by a rule, you don't want your hips to come below your knees. So we're going to come down and hold for what I say is 5 breaths. So your breaths, you can make your breaths as fast or slow as you want, depending on how hard you want to work. So I'm bringing my hips down. I take my arms up. So my hips are no lower than the knees. That's just what's recommended. I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot of people. There's yoga poses where you pretty much sit all the way down onto your heels. It's what's recommended because some people have knee problems. Their knees are cranky and they don't want to sit all the way down. I'm coming up. So that's something we need to do every day. We need to sit and stand. Sit down, standing up. And we have to be able to do that. That's a very important function of our lives. As I'm going to work to sit down on the chair. So again, it's my hips coming back. So my head, my chest comes forward to kind of counterbalance that as I'm going to slowly come all the way down to sit. Inhale, exhale. Coming into the other stretches that are probably the more important stretch. I call it a supported lunge or a chair lunge. I'm sliding a little bit to the side so I can take my right leg back alongside of me. So I'm stretching the front of the leg. Remember, we stretched the back. It's actually, more people need to stretch here, this muscle here. It lifts the leg up, the knee, when we walk. Problem is, it gets to be too tight. So we're stumbling here. We're going to be here for a few breaths. So making sure that you're comfortable. Starting from here, and then maybe come deeper. I'm going to take my arms up. Again, we're going to be here for a couple of breaths. Anytime this is just like too uncomfortable, if you feel pain, then stop. Very simple thing. If it doesn't feel right, then don't do it. So I'm going to lift my chest up. I'm going to start to lift my sternum to look up towards the ceiling. I'm using my upper back to lift the chest up. Everybody's different. Some people can bring their heads onto their back. I can't, but I'm going to lower down. I'm going to be happy with that. I can go as far as I can go. And I'm going to switch. I'm going to go to the other side. So I slide over to the left side. And I'm here. Same thing, second side. It's going deeper and deeper. The trick is not to force it. It's to use the breath. When the breath is completed and fully exhaling that completed breath, that's when we can go deeper. When we're forcing and we're straining and the muscles tighten up and it gets very hard to go and do any more. I'm going to take my arms up again. And maybe deeper, maybe not. Maybe this is too much. Maybe you want to come back off. I'm lifting from my upper back, so by my shoulder blades, I'm lifting the chest up. Stretching all the ribs. It feels good. I'm stretching the tightness in my front of my body. I'm not thinking. I am working very hard on my back, my legs. But I'm trying to focus on the stretch, the relaxation. Coming out, coming back to center. Okay, just to get a little stretch into the back of the legs. My back of my legs were working very hard to do that. I'm just going to stretch the legs out. I lift my chest. I'm just going to slide my hands down to the knees. And you can keep sliding your hands so you come all the way down so that your chest comes down onto your thighs if you want. As long as you keep your back flat. We don't want to round just yet. We're going to round, but slowly we want to come into the round. I want to just right now stretch the backs of my legs. And just breathing, that's the key. The body can go a lot further than people think as long as you relax. And that comes through the breath. Relaxation, that is the yoga. All the postures, all that are exercise. And there's nothing wrong with exercise, but yoga offers so much more. I'm going to firm my legs. I'm going to come up. And we're going to come into some more stretching. I said we're going to do hips. One of my favorites is I take my right ankle over the left knee. For me, this feels good. For some people, this may not be the most joyous place. You can see people right away when they're struggling, their knees come up here. You don't want to force the knee down. You want to use your leg rotating to bring the knee down. Keeping the back flat. Avoid rounding. You can even bring your torso down on top of your leg. In a lot of yoga classes, we do this. We're relying on the floor, and you bring your leg into your chest. You can bring your chest down onto your leg if you want. Come up, and I'm going to switch sides, taking my left ankle over the right knee. Again, it's the leg pushing down, not using your arms. As we're talking on putting a little bit of stress onto the knee to do this. You don't want to force this. You want the stretch to come from relaxation through your breath. And again, you can fold forward. So like if you're on the ground, yes, you would lay on your back and bring your knees into your chest. And you could even get more. You can do this on the mat where you bring your body on top of the leg. Actually a very risky place. That's why I say not to force your knees down. So we're coming back to the breath, slowly winding things down. I'm going to come into a very simple twist. I'm going to bring my legs together. I'm going to turn to the right. I take my left hand to the outside of the right leg. I take my right hand onto my lower back. I lengthen the lower back as I turn deeper into the pose. Just slowing things down, particularly our breath. That's where the relaxation comes from. So I'm going to switch. I'm going to turn to the other side. My right hand comes to the outside of the left leg. The left hand lifts the lower back. Just in case we start to round and compress into the lower back. Coming to center. We're going to go back out the way we came into the practice when we were sitting in the chair. This time I'm sliding forward. I'm lying back. I'm going to take my right leg into the chest. A little bit of rounding for the spine. Slowing the breath down more and more, making it less and less of a 3-part breath. Right now I'm more into a 2-part. Breathing into the belly and into the lower ribs, switching sides. The deeper breathing into the deeper parts of our lungs make us more relaxed. The more expansive the breath, the more energizing, the more heat, the more worked up we're getting. So when we're exercising, we need that full inhales. And I'm going to come down. I'm going to do another posture. Again, it might be difficult. I'm opening up my inner legs. I'm bringing the bottoms of my feet together. Much better doing this on the floor, but I'm still able to get the stretch into the inner thighs. I'm lengthening my spine. And I'm breathing more and more with my belly. Preparing ourselves for the resting pose, which some people like to do while laying on their back. You can do it sitting in the chair. You can be lying back into the chair. You could be sitting up on the chairs. It's whatever works for you. I'm going to use my arms to bring the legs back together. I'm sitting up tall, so I'll go through quickly. I kind of like sitting. Some people, most times at the end of a yoga class, we lie down. So I'm coming a little closer to the edge of the chair. Sitting up tall, and then I'm going to lie back. I don't let my head fall back. Remember I said don't let the head isn't meant to roll all the way back. You'll get a stiff neck. So you have to kind of round your spine in. I bring my hands onto my belly. Hands could be down, laying down on the side. I said don't, because we want the most comfortable position, but not to stress the neck. So I like to sit up. So I'm coming up to sit. I'm sitting probably a hand's distance from the back of the chair. I want to ground myself and be as relaxed as possible while sitting. My legs, being sitting in a chair, I still need to use my legs to some small amount. As I'm sitting here, I'm aligning my spine. I'm going to take your hands. Right now they're on the lap. I'm going to bring, this is goes back into the yoga traditions. I'm going to bring my back of my right hand to rest on my palm of my left. For women, you would want to do the opposite for some reason. Why? I'm not exactly sure. And we sit here. This is my basic meditation pose. I would sit on the floor with my legs either crossed over each other or under. Now I just breathe here for a few more breaths. Finding that rhythm to the breath. Before I change my positions, I'm going to take my hands so that the thumb and index finger come together. Bring my hands on top of my legs. You can close your eyes. You can just maintain a very gentle gaze. So my eyes are just barely cracked open. And then just remain here for 5 minutes so that you allow your body to begin to rest and rebuild for the next session. So I'll see you on the next session. Thank you very much. Namaste.